Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soul Stained Ink. My name is Beth, and I am here with a Sunday update. So, I know that I have been kind of MIA for a few months. I wanted to give you just kind of a quick reading update, and then if that's all you want, awesome. You can go away knowing what I have read recently. But if you'd like a little more, I am going to go ahead and give you a bit of a life update there at the end. So I'm currently at 96 of 150 books of my yearly challenge. I'm actually probably closer to like 120. I just haven't put in all of the books that we've read. I teach kindergarten now, and so we do 2, 3 books a day, and we just finished week 5. So, I'm probably a lot closer to the mark at this point, but I haven't put those in yet. I really honestly cannot remember the last time I gave you guys a reading update. So I think that I spoke to you about the books that I was reading for, I don't remember the name of the class, but it's graphic media in children's, graphic representation in children's media or something like that. Where we read The Arrival, Miss Marvel, Understanding Comics, New Kid. If I didn't talk to you guys about that and you would like to know more about my thoughts on those, let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. After that course, I read One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I don't really remember the second half of that book because lots of crazy stuff happened, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I remember really enjoying it. I just don't remember a whole bunch about the second part. So I will be rereading that at some point. But I finished it, so I went ahead and rated it. I also finished Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness, which I do remember very well. That is book 2 in the All Souls series, which started with the Discovery of Witches. I read it as a buddy read with Fiona from Reads and Eats. She is my sister from another mister, and we do a lot of buddy reads together. And she talked me into reading A Discovery of Witches, and I'm loving it. We're supposed to be reading book 3 whenever she tells me we're reading it. And then my fall courses started. So I am currently taking, let's see what they're called, Major Figures in World Literature and Reality in Children's Literature. So for those two I've read, They All Saw a Cat by Brendan Winsell, which is a picture book, and it shows you a bunch of different perspectives. It's really cool. I highly suggest you check it out. You can find a video of it on YouTube, and it's very, very interesting. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. I read Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, 3 out of 5 stars, and we didn't even end up using it for my World Lit course. I read it early because we got the reading list, and then she took it off the list. So that's my bad. Home of the Brave by Ellen Say. That is another picture book, 4 out of 5. Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. Again, picture book, 4 out of 5. Bloody Jack by L.A. Meyer, which I gave about 3.5 out of 5 stars. That is a middle grade book, and it follows a young girl whose family kind of dies of the pestilence, and she ends up going from a decently affluent family in London to being a street rat. And so she disguises herself as a boy and becomes a cabin boy on a Navy ship. And it's interesting. I liked a lot of it, but there was some of it where I was like, nah, thus the 3.5 out of 5. If you're looking for somewhat realistic portrayal of ship life and things like that in a middle grade book, I mean, go for it. It's a whole series. I'm not going to continue with the series. We read book 1 for Reality in Children's Literature, had a great discussion. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then the other 2 books we have completed for Major Figures in World Literature are The Plague by Albert Camus and The Trial by Franz Kafka. I gave The Plague a very soft 4 out of 5, in the trial, a very soft 3 out of 5. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of what we're reading in this version of world literature, but that's fine. I don't have to be a fan to be able to analyze it. In fact, it's probably really, really good for me to practice reading things that I'm not the biggest fan of and be analyzing it. As I keep telling myself that anyway. And then this week for major figures in world literature, we are reading Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And for reality in children's literature, we are reading An Indigenous People's History of the United States for Young People by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, adapted by Jean Mendoza and Debbie Reese. So those are all the things I have been reading and will be working on this week. I'm hoping to get some more middle grade kind of snuck in there this week. Maybe some of the graphic novels the girls have gotten recently in book boxes or things like that. But that's all I have recently read and know that I will be reading this week. So if that's all you were looking for, I'm so glad you stopped by. If you have any questions or comments about anything that I said about these books, or you want to know more, you want other recommendations along those lines, whatever, come talk to me in the comments down below. If you've read them and you want to discuss your feelings on them, leave me a note. I cannot wait to talk to you. And stay safe out there. Now I'm going to transition over to trying to quickly tell you guys what has been going on in our lives over here and why I've been mostly MIA for several months. If you've been around for a while, you will most likely remember that I got really, really sick about a year ago. Long about October last year, I had like strep throat, flu B, double ear infection, bronchitis turned into pneumonia, turned into pleurisy, turned into my liver was swollen, my gallbladder died. I ended up having gallbladder removal surgery. So like October through December, it was just trash. I started to get healthy again, and I ended up just the drive back and forth to where I was teaching was killing my ability to heal. I was driving 76 miles one way, getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, leaving 5:45, 6, just so I could get there by 7:20, 7:30, which is when we had to be there. Couldn't even leave there until 4:45, and then another hour and a half drive home if I wasn't driving the 20 minutes to where my mom and dad and the girls were, watching volleyball games, having dinner, whatever, and then trying to get home. So I was getting basically no rest. I ended up resigning there. I taught, 8th through 12th ELA, and I very much loved my job, loved my students very, very much. There were also some other struggles going on in there as well. Just kind of the support system was not amazing, and I made the very difficult decision to hand in my resignation without having any backup plans because I knew I just could not continue on with my health the way it was. Wasn't giving them what they needed, wasn't giving my kids what they needed, wasn't giving myself what I needed. So like May, June, July, I was looking for a new job, taking a summer 1 and summer 2 course. I took the girls, my best friend and I took the girls to Tanganyika Wildlife Park in Goddard, Kansas to do like early birthday stuff because their birthdays are at the beginning of the school year. So we took them a month early and met the penguins, fed the penguins, met a sloth, pet a sloth, fed a sloth, like amazing things. And somewhere around that time, I had also been asked if I would be willing to interview for a kindergarten position. It was like mid-June. Interviewed, really didn't anticipate getting the job. Had not heard back from them, so I texted them as we were heading up to Tanganyika, and she was like, you know what, I'm so glad that you messaged me because I was getting ready to call you. Would you like to be a kindergarten teacher? And I have spent almost 2 decades, probably longer than that, saying I never wanted to teach below like fourth, fifth grade. Never wanted to be below that. 20 minutes tops for me with those kids. Well, guess what? We just finished week 5 of me being a kindergarten teacher, and I love it. I love them. It is so different. So I'm struggling with like, I'm a secondary teacher. I've been a secondary teacher for, you know, 15 years. I've tutored, I've long term subbed, and then I've had my own classroom for a decade. The lowest I've been in all of that was my student teaching in fourth grade 16 years ago. And I've done K-12 music, pre-K-12 music, but it was 20 minutes at a time. And I was also teaching junior high, high school English, writing, tutoring college kids. I'm getting my doctorate, so I'm constantly talking to them, tutoring high school to college, master's degree, all of that. And then I have 5-year-olds who, by the way, now know what a precept is and know that please attempt to comport yourself with some sense of dignity means act right. And what was the other one I said? Remember who you are and whose you are means don't embarrass Tyree in the hallways. They've got it down. Because we're hallway ninjas. We move in silence. That's how we get ready to walk out in the hallway. I'm enjoying it immensely. However, it's been a big learning curve for me, and I kind of feel bad for these guys being my first kids. But I'm having a ball, and I think they are too. The little one now lives with me 24/7. So the last 2 years, she and her big sister have lived with my parents during the school year because I was driving, getting up super early, driving. I have cut that drive in half. I drive about 45 minutes every morning now. We can leave by 6:30, 6:45 and still get there in time. I tend to leave earlier because it's still ingrained in me from the last few years. But I can get her up at 6, not at 5. If we're moving a little slower, it's not a big deal. I still get home an hour earlier than I used to, minimum. Unless it's days like on Tuesday, Elena has games, we will get in the car after school, drive an hour in the wrong direction to get over there, watch Elena's games, eat dinner, and we'll be home a little later. But it's okay. And we're doing good. But getting the whole schedule figured out, and we were there. So we had the first week, we started on Wednesday, so it was 3 days. By the end of the first full week, she had gotten COVID. I never popped for COVID, but I had all the symptoms, and I have never quite fully recovered. She recovered in like 2 days. She went from having almost 104-degree temperature to 2 days later, she was running around hollering. She's also already had tonsillitis. My temperature has been kind of hopping around. I haven't quite gotten enough rest. This is the first time I've actually felt fully rested. Well, not 100% fully rested, but more rested in probably 3 weeks. But I'm getting there because I have time to rest, kind of, now. And I am enjoying it a lot. Very briefly, I'm going to talk to you about my reality and children's literature course. My major figures in world literature course, it is what it is, but whatever. But for my reality and children's literature course, because I am a children's literature major, this one is super important to me. And we have a major project at the end of the semester that I'm kind of excited about. And my choice is that I'm going to write an article/conference piece about penguins being represented in children's media. So cartoons, picture books, games, where penguins specifically are represented, but anthropomorphic animals, and then penguins, and how that can affect children, help their empathy and their ecological awareness, what more needs to be done, like I said, how it affects kids, how they take it, things of that nature. I'm not entirely certain what all's going into it yet. But if you would like to hear more about that, let me know. And when I have kind of a stronger grasp on what I'm doing, I will come back and talk to you about it. But also, B, if you have any suggestions outside of like Happy Feet, Surf's Up, which if you haven't seen it is a great animated movie. um, I'm trying to like Penny the Penguin, Sleep Stories, 1, 2, 3 Penguins. If you have any other suggestions about Madagascar, if you have anything outside of those that you know of as representations of penguins in some sort of children's media, I would love for you to please let me know what those are so that I can use them in my research. I'm so excited to do this. Melody, my youngest, is obsessed with penguins, and we want to write a picture book. So back in 2016, I wrote a picture book called Leonard the Lemur. It's available on Amazon, but it's based out of Tanganyika Wildlife Park, which we visited to feed penguins. And as we were leaving, having seen Leonard having pet and fed penguins, having pet and fed sloths, she told me that we needed to do Leonard the Lemur Learns About books, and Leonard the Lemur is going to learn about all the animals at Tanganyika. And African penguins are obviously the first ones we're going to talk about. But African penguins are not really represented in children's media. Neither are, those are our favorite penguins. That's what she just yelled. Neither are like blue fairy penguins and things like that. So if you know of any representations of kind of the lesser known Adelaide penguins, if you know of any representations of those, I would love that as well. And if you have not watched the documentary on Netflix about the penguins, the African penguins, or the Disney documentary about the Adelaide penguins, I highly suggest you do so. They are both great. Stephen is an Adelaide penguin, and he's kind of derpy, and I think you will very much enjoy at least the voiceover on that Disney documentary. So that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope that you have stuck around and enjoyed this update, and that you let me know what media has penguins in it that I can check out. Like I said, games, books, TV shows, movies, anything you can think of. I would love to hear it. So I'll talk to you guys again soon. Until next time, stay safe out there. Bye.